Hope you all had a good new year and you're all feeling tippity top for 2023. But today I thought I would go over some of the releases, the new fantasy and sci-fi releases that are coming out in January. This isn't a 100% list, I'm sure I've missed some. If there's any that I missed that you're excited for, let me know in the commentals. And also let me know which of these you're excited to read. First up, coming on January 1st, so it will already be out, is the Secret Project #1 from Brandon Sanderson. I'm not going to say the real title, I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm just saying for backers of the Kickstarter, it should be that you can access the ebooks and audiobooks if you select that tier January 1st. The physical copies will ship this month too, but I'm not sure when they will arrive, especially for international shipping like here in the UK. Just need to cross our fingers, it's soon. But either way, I'm going to start reading the ebook on January 1st, which is in the past for you, the future for me. Ooh. For people who didn't back the Kickstarter, the ebook should also come out this month, and he said he's aiming for the 10th or 11th, so hopefully they will be out in the middle of the month. As for a physical copy, I think that's later in the year. I think it's April or something that we're getting the physical copies for the non-backers. I'm not 100% sure. Moving on up to January 3rd, we have one of the stranger titles for a fantasy book I've heard. Song of Silver, Flame Like Night. Doesn't really roll off the tongue, but the cover is stunning. In a fallen kingdom, one girl carries the key to discovering the secrets of our nation's past and unleashing the demon that sleeps at its heart. An epic fantasy series inspired by the mythology and folklore of ancient China. I've not read many books with folklore and mythology based on ancient China, so I think this one will be quite interesting. And the cover is awesome, and I'm assuming there's a dragon. There better be a dragon with a cover like that. It's got a dragon. This is a YA book, which isn't my normal forte, but it's a dragon. Also coming on January 3rd, we have The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. Return to the opulent world of Elfhame. Is that right? E-L-F-H-A-M-E? Elfhame? Return to the opulent world of Elfhame, filled with intrigue, betrayal, and dangerous desires. With this first book of a captivating new duology from the #1 New York Times best-selling author, Holly Black. A runaway queen, a reluctant prince, and a quest that may destroy them both. Moving on up to January 10th, we have City of Nightmares. Gotham meets Strange the Dreamer in this thrilling young adult fantasy about a cowardly girl who finds herself at the center of a criminal syndicate conspiracy. In a city where crooked politicians and sinister cults reign, and dreaming means waking up as your worst nightmare. Ever since her sister became a man-eating spider and slaughtered her way through town. This sounds like a really weird book. I love it. I also want to note that this is tagged as fantasy, young adult, horror, urban fantasy, paranormal, and fiction. Sounds quite dark, quite trippy, and I really want to read it. Also on January 10th, we have the much anticipated sequel of Ninth House, which is Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. I have this one pre-ordered. I loved Ninth House so much. And after that kind of cliffhanger of an ending, I'm going to be picking up pretty quickly. And this pretty long way. I mean, this came out... When did this come out? 2019. So it's been a long wait to find out what happens after the end of this book. I'm not going to say anything about Hellbent because it's a sequel, but if you want to read Ninth House, it's an urban fantasy, dark academia, adult fantasy. I'm really excited to see what happens in book 2. Also coming on January 10th, we have The Daughters of Izdihar. From a debut author, Hadir Elsbai, comes the first book in an incredibly powerful new duology. Set wholly in a new world, but inspired by modern Egyptian history about two young women. Nahal, a spoiled aristocrat, used to getting what she wants, and Georgina, a poor bookshop worker used to having nothing, who find they have far more in common, particularly in their struggle for the rights of women and their ability to fight for it with forbidden elemental magic. It's no secret that I loved A Master of Jinn. It was on my top 10 reads of last year. So another book taking inspiration from Egypt is something that I'm definitely interested in checking out. There are definitely not enough books taking influence from ancient Egypt and just Egypt in general. Although there may be another one coming out later on in this year. A week later, on January 17th, we have The Keeper 6 by Kate Elliott. Kate Elliott's action-packed The Keeper 6 features a world-hopping, badass, spell-slinging mother who sets out to rescue her kidnapped son from a dragon lord with everything to lose. There are terrors that dwell in the space between worlds. There's dragons. I'm easily sold, but dragons, I swear I don't see dragons that often anymore, and then suddenly there's like dragons everywhere. Also bonus points for stunning cover. Coming January 19th, we have Of War and Ruin by Ryan Cahill. This is the third book in the Bound and the Broken series, of which I read book 2 and the novella The Exile last year. And The Exile was on my top 10 reads of the year, so I'm very excited for book 3. Every book Ryan Cahill puts out, it just gets better and better and better, so I'm really excited to read this one. And coming in at 437,000 words, it's going to be a chunky boy. And just for comparison, both Way of Kings and Words of Radiance are below 400,000 words. He's gonna be big. This is a self-published classic fantasy feeling series. It's definitely worth checking out. Coming out on the same day, January 19th, we have God Killer. Kaisen kills gods for a living and she enjoys it. That is until she finds a god that she cannot kill. Skedeseth. Skedaisth, god of white lies, who is connected to a little noble girl on the run. Elogast fought in the God War and helped purge the city of 1,000 shrines before laying down his sword. A mysterious request from the king sends him racing back to the city he destroyed. On the way he meets a god killer and a little girl and a littler god who can't find out about his quest. I've not read any of Hannah's work in the past. Actually, is it a debut? It is a debut! That's why I've not read anything by her. But I absolutely love the premise for that book. It sounds really cool. I wasn't going to buy the Broken Binding edition, but now I'm really tempted. I need to make good financial choices. I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. Coming January 24th, we have Spice Road. The first book in an epic fantasy series for fans of Sabah Tahir, Hafsa Faisal, and Elizabeth Lim, set in an Arabian-inspired land. Raised to protect her nation from the monsters lurking in the sands, 17-year-old Amani must fight to find her brother whose betrayal is now their greatest threat. Fantasy books with an Arabian influence are also something that I don't feel like we have enough of, so this is definitely one to keep your eye on. Coming January 28th, we have the much anticipated sequel, for Illborn. Illborn was another one that made it into my top 10 reads of 2022, so we can probably guess. I'm very much looking forward to book 2. This is a self-published book following 4 different characters that all have the same dream. Trying to trim down the synopsis to something short and catchy is a bit like trying to trim down the synopsis for Way of Kings. It's quite difficult because there's a lot of moving pieces. Read the prologue, because I think the prologue's free with Kindle. You'll be caught in his snare of good storytelling after the prologue. So bring on book 2. January's a good month. I like it. Okay, here's a bit of a weird one. We have Children of Memory by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Now this is a weird one because I already have it, so I think it's already out. I'm not sure why Goodreads forecast the release for January 31st. Let's check. Can I buy it on Amazon? I can. I can buy it on Amazon to come tomorrow. So if you've not got it and you can't buy it, it should be there January 31st. But for most people, I think you can just get it now. I'm not sure why the release date says then. But hopefully a book that's actually coming out on January 31st, we have The Terraformers. The Terraformers is an equally heartwarming and thought-provoking vision of the future for fans of Becky Chambers, Kim Stanley Robinson, and Martha Wells. Did I mainly pick this because it said for fans of Martha Wells? Yes. I've actually read a couple sci-fi books with terraforming as a part of the plot, and it's not something that I'd heard of before or even thought about before I got into reading sci-fi books. But I think it's a really interesting concept, and the cover's stunning. So if you're into that sort of thing, want a bit of sci-fi, you could read The Terraformers on January 31st. Naked mole rats and a very angry cyborg cow. It's a very long synopsis, I'm not going to read it to you, but that just caught my eye and now I'm even more intrigued. Might have to check that one out. And those are all the fantasy and sci-fi books that caught my eye that are coming out in January. Let me know if any of these sound good to you and if you're going to pick up any of them or what you're going to be reading in January. In January I'm definitely going to be reading Sanderson's Secret Project and Adjuel's Sin. Those are the two definites. We'll see what else I get to. Anyway, thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, comment. This is really difficult to do. Yeah, that's better. Okay, bye.